Right, guys, in this video, I wanted to go over what my back training is currently looking like. So, my back training is a little bit unique as a powerlifter because a lot of it comes from deadlifts. I don't care what people say. Deadlifts absolutely train every single part of your back to an extremely high magnitude. And something that I've dealt with in the past is having lat strains on my deadlift just because, looking back, I was doing too much volume and needed to sort of scale things back. But really, what I'm doing is two direct back training sessions, where basically it's roughly about 5 sets to about RPE 9 on average each session with a wide range of movements. And the reason why I do that is just because the back is a really complicated muscle group, and if you want to have complete development of it, you need to have several exercises. Doesn't mean you have to like all of them in your exercise program at once, but just means that's probably a very smart choice. By the way, at the end of your sets, like you should be really fighting for position and fighting to get that last rep in. If you look at all these sets I'm doing on my back, you'll see that that's really what happens. And because my arms are also very, very long, I'm going to hit form failure before I hit absolute muscular failure. So I like having these single arm movements because it helps keep me a little bit more strict with my technique, and I just feel better with it. So really, more or less, I choose about two vertical plane movements and two more so rowing variations to help with my back development. Um, and I've been incorporating some lat pullovers too, just because I found that those tend to help me out a lot with just feeling a new area of my back. Really, if you look at like my mid upper back, it's really lagging behind. It's something that I just think that because of my, as a powerlifter, the amount of volume I need to put directly there is, a little bit too much for me to actually handle. Slash, I just, it's not like really worth the squeeze for me, because I think the whole thing about when we're talking about muscle growth, there's only so fast we can actually grow muscle, right? And I think that lots of times we like to think we can force it by doing tons of extra volume, tons of extra intensity, or eating tons of extra food. And the reality is that we want to basically put our bodies in a position where we can consistently recover and adapt in order for ourselves to actually grow muscle. So doing things like eating in a massive calorie surplus isn't probably very smart. I think that at most people beyond that beginner stage, like 200 calories maximum is what you need to have. Make sure that your recovery adapted modalities are on point outside of training. So that means that you're managing stress to the best of your ability within your lifestyle. It means that you're, eating consistently for your goals. It means that you're sleeping as much as you possibly can and trying to get your sleep quality as high as you possibly can as well, so you can actually recover. And then the number one most important thing is that you need to be training hard enough to actually get that growth response. I was listening to a clip with Sam Solik where he was talking about how food is the number one driver of muscle growth, and food plays a massive role in your recovery and your ability to perform. If you're under eating, you're absolutely going to be shortchanging your ability to gain muscle. But really, you don't need to force feed yourself. You want to eat enough where you can consistently recover and get stronger in the gym. Now, if you're somebody like me, who like I am around probably 8% ish body fat, um, I'm somebody who actually probably does need a surplus in order for me to maximize my muscle growth. For a lot of people that are just starting off with strength training, who are a higher body fat percentage, I would say like 12% plus, you probably don't need to have a big surplus. I would honestly, with my clients that come to me and they say, hey, I kind of want to recomp, I focus on really, really good habits with their nutrition, because lots of times people just don't have very good habits. They aren't eating enough protein, they aren't eating, at least 3 meals per day. They don't have consistent food choices on a day-to-day basis. And it really helping me basically like refine those things with their diet really allows them to get better training performance and therefore recomp over time at the same body weight. Now, recomp, you kind of technically do need to be in a very small deficit in order for it to happen. But like again, you can more or less maximize muscle growth as long as you have enough actual fuel stores in there. So I also think that pull-ups are really massively underrated movements. Think about how many exercises you can actually push to a true like RP 9, 10 and like not bullshit yourself. Like pull-ups are really, they're really challenging. And so I think that's important to have them in your program. They might be a little bit harder for you to make progress with just because they're heavily impacted by body weight and there's a skill component, but I still think they're important to do every now and then in your program. So really, that's the entire back workout. After this, I moved on to some rear delt stuff. This does also target your upper back a little bit, but also rear delts. I do this mostly because it's important with all the pressing that I do as a powerlifter to really keep my shoulders healthy. Also, big rear delts, like having a big rear delt is a huge part of that 3D rounded cap look. And really just doing these has allowed me to stay a little bit healthier. Now there's a healthy medium with on these. Like I found out kind of the hard way that this block that if I push my shoulder intensity a little bit too hard, I will sort of start getting some aches and pains. So keeping these around like an RP7 to like 8 here and doing lighter reps, or sorry, lighter weight, higher reps has just been really good for these. You'll notice that some muscle groups are just, they respond a little better to different loading zones. In general, I think that it's easier to like know where you are in terms of proximity to failure. 15 reps and below, but for some exercises, like for practicality purposes and like joint connective tissue stuff, going a little bit higher can be really helpful, especially like later on in your training week. So for example, if you have lateral raises and you're doing them twice a week, say that first session you do sets of 10 to 15 and the other session you do sets of 15 to 20, that's a good way to sort of periodize your training and the stimulus across the training week to make sure that you do stay healthy. You can also get some different overload in that range. Now for biceps, I really like these behind the body curls. This is kind of like sort of like it's similar to an incline dumbbell curl with the force curve, but these are really, really hard. I think bicep training is also really difficult because like especially in the higher ups, like the pump gets to be pretty nasty. But I really think it's important to again like lean into that discomfort, and it's sort of it's a skill. It's similar to people that are not used to dieting. They start to feel a little bit hungry, they kind of freak out because they don't know like what that's like. But then once you start to be a little more of an experienced dieter, hunger doesn't really phase you. You kind of are just like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit hungry. Well, that's actually a sign I'm progressing towards my goal and getting the intended results. It's not like a reason to sound the alarm bells. You sort of like lean into it. And honestly, as you get more advanced in dieting, the thing that annoys you the most is just the fatigue from it, not the hunger. But it's similar with like training. So when the reps start to get hard, lean into that and try, really getting some extra reps and pushing hard. Like hypertrophy training is completely different from powerlifting in that the harder that you train in terms of proximity to failure, the more muscle growth you tend to get. Whereas with muscle growth, with the strength gain, it's kind of not like that. As long as you're getting, the load's going up over time, you're going to get stronger. So then I did these dumbbell face pulls. These are new movement in my program. I really, really like them. I've noticed that with like cable face pulls, I have to do a ton of reps to kind of get like close to failure. I just don't really like them a ton. And these have been really, really awesome movement in my program. So this is, if you guys have tried face pulls before with cables, this is a really great exercise to do. But that's really more or less, the entirety of my back program. I do this about twice a week. It's about 10 sets of direct back work with about 7 sets of deadlift per week. So I would count that as about 17 sets, like technically. But again, back is such a complicated muscle group, and all I know is that I'm growing, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting, and that means I have enough volume. I don't feel like overly fresh, so it's a good spot for me to make progress from. And physique is really coming along. This is me at 197 pounds. This has been the best I've honestly think I've ever looked. It's kind of trippy waking up at higher body weight and, like, damn, I'm not fat. So again, if you're gaining weight slowly, 1-2 pounds a month with an emphasis on strength gain, you're not going to get fat when you're bulking. So, yeah, that's really the video. If you guys are interested in, coaching, helping you guys get, your dream physique and setting your PRs every single day in training, and so you don't have to deal with any plateaus ever again, links are down below in the description box. And if you guys have any questions, also feel free to ask down below.